Minutes. Any modifications or changes to the meeting minutes dated April 14, 2025? If no, then it's approved as distributed. No old business, new business, amended and restated project agreement and crossing.
Yes, so this is the final version to come before you guys. So the Union and Crossing, again, this is the development south of the yard. So Union is the first phase of that. They've got crews that are mobilized out there right now. They're closing tomorrow on all of their financing, which includes the TIF portion of this. The final piece that had to get addressed within this now amended and restated project agreement is that the city all along has had a commitment to pay up to $500,000 of excess bond proceeds that are coming from the yard development that can go towards this project. Well, we started to dig into the minimum taxpayer agreements and realized actually people can appeal their minimum taxpayer agreements below that excess total of $500,000. So in response to that, realizing these minimum taxpayer agreements that couldn't actually be useful to them, we're allocating or allowing them to capture additional revenue and excess proceeds that are coming from the stations project, which is immediately to the east of there. So the total dollar amount has not changed of the up to $500,000. We just realized with these minimum taxpayer agreements and literally as we got the appeals statement from the county of like, oh, that this could actually pose an issue in the future. So that is the only change in this version. Again, project is closing tomorrow, pending approval today, and probably a 24-month construction period for some of these first phases of the project, but happy to answer any questions.
So our vote is to change the language in the agreement to reflect the different source of proceeds, whose decision is that on where the money comes from?
So we negotiated with them on all of these different sources. So We've got the additional allocation areas, which is a definition in the agreement that pulls from 3 lots within the crossing development, which is around the event center. So they have those proceeds. And again, this came down to like a vision and an economics conversation of when we first announced this in 2022 with the event center as part of like our big $1 billion rollout. Construction materials were at a different price. Bond markets were at a different price. Interest rates had really just kind of killed this project. If we wanted, all along as we were negotiating with them on this, we said, let's look at these areas where we have excess proceeds to be able to then continue to keep this vision that we really wanted. So that was a policy direction from myself and Scott, and then from City Council as well to take those steps forward.
And then this is around 500,000. What's the total investment on the project?
Their total investment on all 3 phases, I think, is over $150 million.
Okay.
So the dollar amount, if you compare it to some of our downtown redevelopment projects, just based off of the land costs, this is still a really good deal for the city.
Yeah, I have to recuse myself.
Hey, Megan, I don't have a problem with this particular proposal, but I know that the city tracks all of the TIF bonds that have been issued, and I thought it might be helpful at some point, again, not necessarily for this, but for you to review with us as a group, just at a very high level, some of this, so that we have some appreciation that, in fact, TIF revenues are balanced or hopefully, exceeding what the obligations are. I know that we did that periodically at council, and I think probably this committee could benefit from that too.
Sure. So the annual report that it's obligated, so our redevelopment commission is who manages our TIF. So they are the entity in charge of that. So we do an annual report to the redevelopment commission and then to council. But what we could do is have Lawrence, we can send that around And just have time on there for old business maybe for next month, to answer any questions or walk through that if that would be of interest to everyone. We'll do that then, Rich.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Someone like make a motion to amend and reinstate the project grant for Union Crossing.
I'll move. Second.
All approved, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passes and approved. ASM update.
So some quick updates last month. There were 3 great games into the season. By the end of this month, we're actually halfway, so only 8 games, quite different than hockey and volleyball. So when we last met, we had 1 game down. I was excited about food and beverage numbers, hoping that was sustainable. It has been. I think a lot of it, similar audience. There's some overlap with hockey that are strong food and beverage numbers, but you get the built-in breaks between quarters and a real halftime. So food and beverage numbers have been strong overall. Pleased with ticket sales. Updated on the hockey. So they were going into the playoffs last month when we met. They lost in the first round. So we got 2 extra, we'll say unbudgeted games. Granted, they were Monday and Tuesday, so not high attendance draws, but picked up a couple of events there. Schedule wise for them for next season. So with the normal season reminder, we're starting in October, running through April plus playoffs. So their season's final to this point. They released the first home game last week, so that will take place Friday, October 17th. They'll announce the rest of this calendar. So they'll announce the full season schedule here later in May. Overall, though, favorable draw. There's a handful of midweek games, but a good amount of Fridays and Saturdays on the schedule. Really heavy November and March, though. Yeah. And then Ignite. So Friday, Sunday night, we're on CBS Sports in the playoffs. So they made it into the playoffs as a 4 seed, upset the 1 seed on Friday night. They lost the championship game last night. So their season is done now that we've got the dual season finalized. We're going back through on the Ignite holds and shifting some of theirs around. So they played 14 regular season home games. They only got 3 Friday or Saturday games here. So when you look at their attendance, 11 out of 14 were non-Friday, Saturdays. I think their number of tickets sold is actually pretty good. And then next season, we'll start to see them get more Fridays and Saturdays since the are spread out. So it should help to grow attendance there. The big show last week or last month was Megan Maroney. So that was the up and coming country music star. That was also the first time we took on the big plaza activation. I can share some pictures around on that one, but we had watched her music, one of her music videos. She has a blue door is a big theme. So we had somebody custom make this Fisher's blue door, and it was in just tons and tons of Instagram pictures. They brought in a huge inflatable that was a big photo op, and then we did bars outside. They had a merchandise truck that was outside as well. So tour and promoter really happy on that one. That set a new record for venue merchandise sold. I think it probably nearly doubled the previous record. It was just insane. So we had
It's insane.
It was a full 53-foot semi out on the plaza with 2 merch setups out there, 2 more inside the venue. More than double. Yeah. So we had a couple big private events in April, Junior Achievement and American Lung. American Lung was the first time we did a plated dinner. So both those went really well. We'll continue to chase private events to help fill in the calendar. 3 announcements in the last month: the World of Hans Zimmer, Ken Carson, and then First Christmas Show, Amy Grant, CeCe Winans, Michael W. Smith. Just took out the ice last week because we've been so busy up until this point. So took the ice out, turned off the ice plant. Now hopefully start to see that utility bill drop a little bit.
Right, it's like 30 degrees in there. I think we're right, I'm not saying.
Yeah.
Hopefully
we're more subtle than that.
No longer need long sleeves. Finance update. I think we talked last time, we were gonna run through first quarter. Elliot's out today, so he wanted to hold for some commentary from the city side. Without giving it away, though, I think we're where we need to be in a really good spot in the first quarter, especially without naming rights revenue in play. So we're in a good spot so far. So next month, when he's back in, we'll run through and do a deep dive on first quarter financials. Looking forward to the rest of May events. We've got Cars and Coffee, kind of a parking lot event, coming up next weekend. Cathedral graduation, freight games, private events, and then HSC and Fisher's graduation once we roll into June. Joe, I think you had asked ticket sales data, where people were coming from last meeting. So we pulled all of the numbers from Ticketmaster as if you were purchasing online or through the app. So this wouldn't count if you have season tickets for one of the tenants or you have suites. But this is everybody online or through the app, which is the vast majority of all tickets we sell. So no surprise, Indianapolis top market, 65% of sales. If we look by county, Hamilton County is 25%, Marion's 14, Hancock 5, Hendricks 4. By zip code, if we take the two Fisher zip codes, it's 13% of ticket sales. So what you guys think?
Higher.
Yeah. We talked about it too, but then you think like neighboring cities, how close it still is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good sign. Like obviously residents are using the facility, and then, you know, outside individuals coming into Fishers and spending discretionary income here is also a good story as well. And then a tough one to close on, but wanted to give an update on the employee side. So John Stockholm, our director of food and beverage, that came and spoke to you guys in various meetings, passed away last week.
Oh, my.
Out on vacation and had a heart attack. So not with us anymore. Obviously, a huge part of our success going through construction and everything. And we'll certainly miss him. Thanks. Yeah.
Sorry to hear. Wow.
Yeah.
Show that you want to give us.
I know, I should.
Something maybe like,
Any question?
The awful news and, yeah, it's horrible to hear. I probably missed it because I've been tending to a new job for the last couple of months. So thanks everyone for your patience. But as you start to see the kinds of events that Megan Roney sort of blew out ticket sales, how does that change the way that you look for acts and try to recruit acts here in the future? I mean, I'm assuming you both use that with the promoter to say, hey, this does really well here, but also trying to look at how to max the use of the facility. I know there's not an exact answer to that, but how do we think about that?
Yeah, I think a lot of it I think that you're hinting at is like selling our success. And when you look from opening in November through April, 95% of shows we did or performed very, very well. So that's a good story to go back to agents and promoters that, you know, if somebody's an agent for a band that we did last week and they don't know the sales, like telling the story of how well this did. And it can be ticket sales, like number of tickets purchased. It also factors in the average ticket price. The price that we've been able to sell tickets at in this market is oftentimes higher than other comparable buildings. So finding the success story, tickets paid, average tickets sold, merchandise is a big one. That's not a huge revenue stream for us in terms of what percentage the building gets. So that one matters to a lot of artists there. Megan specifically, I think we talked last time, it's really a timing one. Like she is on a rocket ship and
And a new song with Kenny Chesney coming.
yeah, if we didn't get on the spring tour, like the window was gone time, just playing all NBA and NHL buildings and bigger in the fall.
And the last thing that I would say, talking too much already, but I know that the events like the graduation are not good revenue producers for us, right? I mean, we're not going to make as much money off of that, but I just say that I still think that's going to be really important for helping people to understand sort of just the logistics of how they get in and out, and probably really important local sales. I've already heard some complaints or concerns about parking, like there's some issues with them parking here. I just stress that I still think that that'll be a really important way to help people establish sort of some identity with the facility, but also to make them feel like, okay, I can do this on a Tuesday night, or I can do this on it's not a big undertaking to get in there. So I guess I just suggest that we make sure that we're at our best.
Yeah, I agree. I think communication on that one's gonna be big, with big crowd and coming and going on that. Obviously, very important that it's Fisher's residents as well, and making sure they have a good time. And while we've been open, 6-7 months, by the time that rolls around, that's still a lot of people's first time at the building, and one of the most important days of their life. So we want to deliver on. Right.
Jake Query's a big fan. He's always Jake Query since Saturday the Fan. He's always talking about, because he came to the Ignite match.
Okay.
You should try to get Pat McAfee to do a live show.
Yes.
Just down the street.
Yeah, he's
Another big
talked
night.
about the Ignite once or twice.
Yeah.
I've heard him talk about it several times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on the events like with the school corporation and stuff, are we charging them the regular rental rate? So,
No, and so the three big ones, Mudsock basketball, Hamilton Southeastern Foundation, and the graduations, like Mudsock was, I would say, the most favorable deal we've given to anybody, and I think, right, they made more money or generated more revenue than they previously would. So I would say that one's definitely a win. Like if they're generating more revenue, more people get to see the event.
Right.
So yeah, there's different rental rates, and the city has the right to pay the rental fee. So yeah, working with the city on all those ones.
I just kind of assumed that's part of the.
Right.
And the graduations aren't bad to do. Certainly important for the community, but you look like it's June when we're slower than normal. Like you should be doing those things. It's not like it's blocking out a tenant for a concert.
I mean, how much can you get, do you guys get by with minimal staff for those types? Because you probably don't have to open concessions or any of that other stuff for those types.
Yeah, way more cut down on stuff.
How did I know you guys hosted a funeral back in March? How'd that work out?
I mean, those are tough to work. Like normally, when you talk about our staff, like everybody is working an exciting event, like everybody's looking forward to going there. So those ones take a toll. I think overall it went fine. Part of being a part of the community, like you say, you're going to be.
All the feedback I've heard is crazy positive. The parking complaints slowed down. So
Yeah.
people are getting
I was
used to
trying
it.
to park to go eat. and go to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Laz, the parking operator in the police department, has spent a ton of time with us, like constantly refining that. Trying various things and just continuing to clean that up. I think the first 2 weeks were tough, and then I think we kind of got into a routine on the tenants. Then started doing all the touring shows, and it brought a whole new group of people here, and those presented some challenges. But I think since March, like we've been in a good routine there, making improvement. We're tracking with Laz egress time every night for the east side a lot, and the west side. Elliot gets copy of it morning after every event too. So it's
Yeah, text from Scott during the event when it's happening, and Scott is standing outside watching it happen. So everybody lives and breathes that for sure.
So it'll be a big test. End of July will be the first double we do that we in Morgan show. So there's a matinee Saturday and then an evening show after. So we'll be staffed up for that one to get people out as quick as possible and bring the next show in and then.
I'm coming to the evening one, so I want all those people out.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think those will end up, both of them being sold out. So
Really?
I think that's awesome.
Any other questions? Adjourn. 4:23.
Thank you.
Take care, Rich.
See you guys. Thank you.
Yeah.